The meat would not last the day, and everybody knew it. You butchered in the cool months for a reason. But summer did not care about your reasons. A bit of pork, a fish from the creek, and the clock started the moment it was done. The flies found it first, then the smell. And meat was work, and meat was money, and there was never so much of either that you could waste it. So we kept a box out on the porch. A plain wooden box with screen sides and a little tray of water on top, standing in the breezeway where the air moved. It did not look like much, but that box was the reason we ate what we raised instead of watching it spoil. My name is Earl Dean. I was raised on a farm in the Oklahoma Panhandle by people who came up through the Dust Bowl and the Depression with almost nothing in their pockets and a great deal in their hands. Today I will show you that screen box cooler, how it kept food fresh with no electricity at all, and the honest truth about what it could do and what it could not. Here is the one idea that makes the whole thing work. When water dries off of something, it carries the heat away with it. You have felt it your whole life. Come up out of a creek on a hot day with a little wind, and you go cold all over, even with the sun on you. That cold is the water leaving your skin, taking the warmth with it. The school books call it evaporation. You do not need the word. That shiver is the same force that kept my mother's butter firm in July. On a farm, there were a few ways to put that force to work. If you had a spring, you built a little house over it, and the cold running water kept your crocks of milk and butter cool. If you had no spring, you dug a cellar, because the ground a few feet down stays cool when the air up top is blazing. And plainest of all was the wet cloth. My grandmother would drape a damp flour sack towel over the butter crock with the tail sitting in a dish of water, and the drying cloth pulled the heat right out. The screen box was just that wet cloth idea, built up to hold your meat and milk and greens all at once. I will be honest about where it comes from. Folks all over the dry world work this out because the same heat teaches the same lesson. The most famous one came from a dusty Australian mining town called Coolgardie. So good they named it the Coolgardie Safe. We did not call ours anything fancy. To us it was just the safe. Same good idea, two sides of the same wide world. Here is how you build one. Start with a wooden box on legs, up off the ground so the air gets all the way around. Whatever scrap lumber you have. For the sides, you want screen or wire mesh, so the air pours through but the flies stay out. That matters as much as the cooling, because a fly will ruin meat as fast as the heat will. Over the screen you hang cloth. Burlap is the classic, what the old folks called Hessian, but heavy cotton will do. On top you set a shallow tray and fill it with water. Then you lay strips of flannel in the tray with the ends trailing down onto the cloth. The water climbs those strips and creeps down all on its own, keeping the cloth damp without you wetting it all day. One more touch, and do not skip it. Stand the forelegs in 4 little dishes of water. That moat stop the ants cold. Then put it where it belongs, and this is where folks go wrong. Not in a closed pantry, not in a damp corner, in a breezeway, in the shade, where the air is always moving, but the sun never lands. The moving air is the engine. After that, your only chore is keeping the tray filled morning and evening. The water is always leaving. That is the whole point. While you go about your day, the water feeds down the cloth and soaks the burlap. When the breeze moves across it, the water dries off and lifts into the air, the same as it lifted off your skin. And as it goes, it drags the heat with it, out of the cloth, out of the air inside, out of the food on the shelves. No motor, no wire, no bill at the end of the month. Now I keep the promise to you. This is not an icebox. It will not make ice or get your food down to that hard cold from the machine in your kitchen. On a good dry day, with the breeze moving, the inside runs a fair bit cooler than the outside air, commonly 5 to 15 degrees, more on a fine, dry day, less when the air goes still. That is the difference between butter you can spread and a dish of yellow oil. It buys you time, and on a farm, time is everything. And I will tell you plainly, because it touches your health. Raw meat in the heat is a serious matter. I would not trust a screen box to hold meat safe for long the way a cold ice box would. We ate what we kept in there quickly, in a day, not over a week. Use your good sense. This keeps food cool and fresh longer. It is not a promise that anything keeps forever. The other thing that decides it all is the dryness of your air. Out where I was raised, the air is dry, and dry air pulls the water off fast. And fast drying means strong cooling. But down in the muggy places in August, where the air can hardly take on a drop more, the water cannot leave the cloth, and the heat cannot leave with it. This box will still help you a little, but it will not amaze you. Know your own air before you judge it. Here is the part that stays with me. There is no money in a screen box and a wet rag. Nobody runs an advertisement for burlap and a tray of water. No company mails you a bill for the breeze on your porch. You cannot put a brand on evaporation. And because there is no money in it, nobody has been reminding you it works. It got quiet. Not because it stopped working, for the laws of this world do not stop, but because it could not be sold. My mother never read a word about any of this, but she knew that wet cloth pulled the heat out, sure as she knew when weather was coming, and she ran that porch like a captain runs a ship. People my age are about the last who watched it done. And that is why an old man is sitting here talking to a camera, so it does not go all the way quiet, So build yourself a little one. A box, some screen, a length of burlap, a tray, 4 dishes for the feet. Set it in the shade where the breeze runs. Keep the tray full and put a stick of butter in it on a hot, dry day. Come back in the afternoon and feel how the heat has left. Then tell me in the comments what the air is like where you live and whether it worked, because I read everyone. Next time, I will show you how my mother fed all 7 of us through a hard week on what most folks today scrape straight into the bin, starting with the one pot she never let go cold on the stove. Until then, keep the simple things close. They were never half so foolish as they looked.